Good evening, you're watching Gambia 24 with me, Mariama Cham, but first the headlines. Supreme Islamic Council frowned over France President Emmanuel Macron's incitement against Islam and the Holy Prophet. Barrow says Gambia prepared for a second wave of coronavirus. Officials to be deployed to rural Gambia to promote domestic tourism. This and more coming on Gambia 24. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is Gambia 24. Thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. The Gambia Supreme Islamic Council has condemned what it called the French President Emmanuel Macron's incitement against Islam and the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. In early October, French President Emmanuel Macron sparked outrage across the Muslim world after he accused French Muslims of separatism and described Islam as a religion in a crisis all over the world. Amadou Kante has more in this report.
Emmanuel Macron's comments were made on October 2nd as he unveiled a controversial plan to strengthen a 1905 law that officially separated church and state in a new drive to push religion out of education and the public sector in France. On 6th of October, Samuel Paty, a popular history and geography teacher at a school in a quiet Paris suburb, presented a copy of cartoons of Prophet Muhammad that provoked the attacks on Charlie Hebdo magazine 5 years ago. 10 days later, Paty was killed allegedly by a Russian-born teenager of Quechua heritage, sending an electric shock into France's long debate about secularism. The French president, Emmanuel Macron, responded by saying France would not renounce the caricatures. On Friday, the Supreme Islamic Council in the Gambia said in a statement that Macron's statement against Islam is irresponsible and caused to spread the culture of hatred and violence in the world, when efforts are underway to enhance tolerance and dialogue between cultures and religions. The council said it strongly condemns Macron's attack on Prophet Muhammad and urges all Muslims in the Gambia to abandon all France-manufactured products. The council also urges imams and scholars in the Gambia to preach to people about the good conduct of Prophet Muhammad and encourage Muslims to practice it in their daily life. Its president Imam Mohamed Lamine Touré said, Charlie Hebdo, a French satirical weekly magazine featuring cartoons, reports, polemics and jokes, is popular of its caricature of the Muslim Prophet Muhammad, but it has also incurred global anger over its work and a deadly attack 5 years ago. On 7 January 2015, two Muslim brothers, Said and Serif Kouachi, forced their way into Charlie Hebdo's office in Paris, armed with rifles and other weapons, where they killed 12 people and injured 11 others. Reporting for Africa News, I am Amadou Kante.
That was the Islamic Council reaction on Macron's statement. Now, the Gambia's Minister of Fisheries, in collaboration with the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO, has been putting together initiative towards improving the fisheries subsector by defining methods of fish smoking. The initiative is called the FAO Charity Technology, and Gambia's Information Minister Ibrahim Silla has been speaking about it during Friday's weekly press briefing on various government activities. Julanjai Suare reports.
The FAO Charity Technology was introduced in Gunjur, south of the Gambian capital Banjul, and it is being replicated elsewhere to transform all hazardous traditional fish smoking methods. Information Minister Ibrahim Silla told journalists on Friday that the health and environment-friendly smoking method of the FAO Charity Technology produces high-quality smoked fish products.
FTT produces high-quality smoked fish product and is considered health and environment-friendly. In the same vein, inland transportation of coastal fisheries products have improved remarkably. Access to off-road communities has improved through feeder road network. An estimate of more than 500,000 metric tons of fish was transported to rural areas this year alone.
Speaking on the area of environment, climate change and natural resources, Ibrahim Masilla stated that the ministry is currently validating 4 technical reports of the pilot project Climate Resilience, which is funded by the World Bank Climate Investment Fund.
This will enable the Ministry of Environment, through the government of the Gambia as a developing country, to develop resilience to the impacts of climate change by preparing and implementing a strong strategic investment plan of climate intervention, which is a 25-year plan.
Silla said the ministry has also concluded a regional consultation with a Beijing consulting firm on climate change, which targeted administrative regions of the Gambia. It included a diverse range of stakeholders to determine the challenges faced in relation to climate change. He stated that during the technical review period, the 4 strategic documents will be reviewed and validated and compiled into a national document being implemented by the Ministry of Environment. For iAfrica News, I am Julden Suare.
That story on Fisheries by Julden Suare will take us to a first break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and now to the rest of our stories. In an exclusive interview with iAfrica TV, President Adama Barrow has said that his government is prepared to tackle a second wave of coronavirus infections when it arises. The Gambian leader also said the country's economy remains strong despite the impact of the global pandemic. More in this report.
Europe is experiencing a second wave of new coronavirus infections, with Spain, Germany and France initiating lockdowns again. In the Gambia, the country is experiencing the lowest numbers of new infections, and deaths have also significantly dropped. But could there be a second wave of the virus in the West African nation as the government relaxed restrictions? And what happens in the event of a new surge in COVID-19 infections? The Gambian leader Adama Barrow said in an interview on Friday that the Gambia is prepared.
I think even we are more prepared now than before, because now we have learned from the previous experience. Our infrastructure is more prepared, and our doctors are more prepared because of the experience we got. And we are also observing, because we know the world is connected. This time, we will not be taken unaware. Because you know what have happened before? We are not going to allow that to happen this time.
When the first cases of the coronavirus were reported in the Gambia, the government faced criticisms for not sorting the borders on time. And when it did announce the closure of land, sea and airspace, the government still allowed flights to bring in passengers, with most of the COVID-19 cases recorded between March, April and June reported to have been imported. Critics say the Barrow-led government was slow and negligent in its response, but the president said such criticism are politicized.
I think that is not realistic. You know, sometimes people politicize these kind of things. This is not politics now. This is about the Gambia. This is about life and death. We should be very, very realistic, and we should be fair also to the government. I think we declared a state of emergency, even before having one case in the Gambia. I think that is a strong evidence. I think that is enough to say that this government, we were very serious about this pandemic.
COVID-19 ravaged economies around the world and devastated the lives and livelihoods of families and individuals in almost every corner on earth. In the Gambia, economic forecasts have been revised downwards as a result of the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the economy. Despite this, President Adama Barrow said the economy is still strong.
The economy to grow by 6.5%, but because of COVID, we are now growing at 1.5%. It's unfortunate that it happened that way, but I can tell you that still our economy is strong. Our economy is strong. You know why? Our collections remain intact. We are above our target in collection, tax collection and shortfall. We are above our target. Our reserves are over 5 months. When we were coming in government, it was like 1 month import cover. Today we are up to 5 months. So we are still strong. Interest rates have gone down. So we are strong. It's the growth that it has affected.
Since the Gambia recorded its first case of COVID in March, the country has received more than $90 million from development partners to help its fight against the pandemic. For iAfrica TV, Sohna Tungara.
That was President Adama Barrow on his government's preparedness in case the Gambia encounters a second wave of the virus. Now, the Gambia government is planning to redeploy staff of the Ministry of Tourism rural areas, according to Ibrahim Silla, the Minister of Information. The move is part of a plan to promote effective tourism in the provinces. Silla told journalists on Friday at the weekly government briefing hosted by the ministry. More in this report. The Gambia's Ministry of Tourism and Culture has a plan to revive and expand local tourism in the Gambia. It explains to build standard hotels in the provinces and says government road projects will enhance local tourism, but for residents of the Gambia as well. On Friday, the country's Information Minister Ibrahim Silla said that part of the plans to promote domestic tourism will include sending staff of the Ministry of Tourism to work in rural areas.
As part of efforts to promote domestic tourism and bringing tourism to the doorsteps of Gambians, especially in the rural areas, in the form of decentralization, the Ministry of Tourism and Culture, through the Gambia Tourism Board, deems it necessary to deploy staff to all regions of the country as tourism representatives to help various regional governors, primarily to promote and develop tourism in the country.
Tourism officials are embarking on a tour of regions and visiting regional heads to explain the role of the staff to be deployed in rural areas. They will work closely with officials of the Parks and Wildlife, Forestry Department, and the National Council for Arts and Culture.
These representatives are expected to work in close collaboration with the relevant authorities and communities, especially the National Center for Arts and Culture, Forestry, Parks and Wildlife, and to promote community-based tourism through available cultural and historical assets as well as forest parks and wildlife. Currently, the Deputy Permanent Secretary and staff of the Ministry of Tourism and Culture, the Director General of the Gambia Tourism Board, the Director General of the Gambia Tourism and Hospitality Institute, and other senior staff of the National Center for Arts and Culture are on a countrywide visit to meet the regional governors of the various regions to formally introduce and explain to them the role of the tourism representatives in their regions.
As the COVID-19 pandemic halted all tourism activities since March, the government of the Gambia has plans to reopen the airspace on October 31st, 2020 to help revive the economy. Meanwhile, tourists landing in the Gambia are expected to present a negative COVID-19 test as a measure to contain the spread of the virus. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham. Tourism deploying staff to various regions in the country will take us to the end of Gambia 24. For more news, tune in to iAfrica.tv. I was your presenter, Mariama Cham. Do have a good night.